darkness, that's why you walk into rooms, and atmosphere shifts, that's why you open your mouth, and demons get nervous. You've been trained in spiritual warfare even. When you didn't know it, the conversations that broke you were actually boot camp. The loneliness you hated was leadership preparation. God allowed rejection, so you would learn to recognize real alignment. He allowed betrayal, so you would learn to read spirits, not words. He allowed you to walk through wildernesses, so you would never again be impressed by shallow promises. Chosen one, do not despise your history. Your history is holy. It's the soil where God planted discipline, discernment, endurance. Others read books, you lived battles. Others studied theory, you survived war zones. And all of it was not just for you, it was for this moment, for this final assignment. You carry the residue of heaven and the marks of warfare. That combination makes you unstoppable. You know what it's like to bleed and still lead, to cry and still show up, to be empty and still pour out. And that's why your mantle is heavier than most, because your training has been deeper than most. You don't flinch when darkness moves. You don't cower at demonic resistance. You've seen too much, survived too much, learned too much. The enemy doesn't fear your words. He fears your walk. Your life is a sermon. Your scars are scrolls. And when you move, realms respond. This is why you can't stay silent, why you can't play small, why you can't dim your fire just to make others comfortable. Your pain has prepared you, and your preparation demands performance. You're not just anointed, you're assigned. You're not just called, you're commissioned, and heaven is counting on you not to shrink back. What if I told you that your greatest battles were not proof of failure, but prophecy? What if I told you that the enemy only attacks what threatens him back? The resistance you faced was confirmation, not condemnation. You have been through too much to walk away. Now, too much has been invested in you. Too much oil has been crushed from your life. To abort the mission now would not just be disobedience, it would be dishonor. You didn't go through all that to stay quiet. You didn't survive all that to sit still. You didn't bleed all that blood to play it safe. Type one, choose my crown. Let those who mock you see the fruit of your pain. Let those who watch you suffer see you shine. This is not arrogance. This is authority. You have earned your authority in the unseen realms. You have been licensed by heaven and feared by hell. Move like it. Let this be the section where everything shifts in your spirit. Let this be the paragraph that reminds you it was never just pain, it was always preparation. And now that you know, there is no turning back. You are not broken. You are battle tested. You are not lost. You are lethal. You are not waiting. You are walking in your final assignment. You've seen the fire. Now walk in the flame. Demons knew before you did before. You even understood your identity before you ever heard the word assignment. Before you knew how to pray with authority or discern the atmosphere, darkness already had your name on a list. They watched you be born. They tracked your steps. They recognized your potential, even when you were just learning to walk, because in the spiritual realm, identity is not hidden. It radiates. Hell saw the seal on your life before you could even speak. That's why the attacks came early. That's why confusion and chaos try to take root in your childhood, because the enemy doesn't wait for you to become. He strikes when you're still becoming. He hoped to distort you before you discovered you were divine. He hoped to destroy your belief before you ever discovered your calling. But here you are, still breathing, still waking up, still seeking, still pressing, and that alone is a miracle. It's proof that heaven has preserved you and that hell has failed again and again. Hell sent waves of warfare, hoping that at least one would wipe you out, but not one succeeded. Not one arrow struck your core. Yes, you've been wounded. Yes, you felt broken, but never destroyed. And now the tables have turned. The very demons that stalked you now shudder when you wake up, because they know the moment you fully realize who you are, the moment you fully embrace what you carry, the territory they've occupied starts crumbling. Strongholds start shaking. Altars start falling. The illusions they built begin to shatter. They knew you were different. They saw the dreams, the clarity, the hunger, the refusal to quit, the refusal to bow. You never really fit in with rebellion, even when you tried to silence your spirit. Heaven kept whispering to you, even in your lowest moments, the light in you would not go out. and hell couldn't comprehend it. You were not just a target, you were a threat. That's why every time you got closer to clarity, confusion followed. Every time you moved toward peace, chaos would strike. It wasn't bad luck, it was backlash. You weren't just existing, you were advancing, you were waking up. And hell does not fear churchgoers, it fears awakened ones from a young age. You saw things others didn't, felt deeply dreamt. Prophetically, you carried empathy like armor. You noticed spiritual weight in rooms long before you had language for it. That wasn't random, that was heaven's fingerprint. You were born marked, sensitive to atmospheres, tuned to the frequencies of heaven, and demons saw it too. So they tried to desensitize you with trauma, with betrayal, with heartbreak. They tried to harden you so your heart would stop discerning. They tried to mute your voice before it grew into a weapon, but none of it worked. And now the time has come when what they feared most is happening. You are awakening to your authority. You can't be lied to anymore. You can't be seduced by shallow pleasures anymore. You can't be manipulated by guilt or fear anymore, because something inside you has been lit, a fire that will not go out. A realization that you were never a victim of life, you were a vessel of light. You are now in the place where your history collides with your destiny, where your pain fuels your purpose, where your scars become scrolls of divine instruction, and demons tremble because they know that once a chosen one fully steps into awareness, hell has no more control. They knew you before you knew yourself, but now that you know, now that the veil is lifting, now that the Spirit is speaking clearly, you are about to become unshakable, not because you're perfect, but because you're sealed, covered, commissioned, no longer wondering, no longer guessing, just walking in truth. Let this truth settle deep within you. You were never weak, you were never too emotional, you were never too much. You are now becoming tool of warrior. Pain is no longer a burden, it is becoming a blueprint. Your wilderness has forged wisdom, your tears have softened your vision so you can see deeper, clearer, holier. All of it was preparing you to carry this mantle with fire and focus. You spent years underestimating yourself because you were surrounded by people who couldn't recognize your assignment. They saw you as ordinary because your light unsettled their darkness. But you were never ordinary, you were Dana, disruption walking in human form. The resistance you faced wasn't a sign you were off track, it was confirmation that you were marked to lead. This is your turning point. The time for second viewing is over. You can't afford to entertain voices of fear when heaven has spoken destiny over you. The final assignment has been activated, and the realm of the Spirit is watching your next move. And no, you're not unprepared. You have everything you need, the authority, the discernment, the fire. Even when you feel weak, the power in you is not yours, it's His. That's the secret of the chosen ones. They walk boldly, not because they trust themselves, but because they trust the one who sealed them. You are that chosen one. Your story is not over. In fact, it's just beginning. The chapters ahead are not filled with wandering, they're filled with divine instruction, impact, and victory. And now, with clarity in your eyes and a roar in your spirit, you are stepping into the part of your journey that hell tried to keep you from. Warrior of light, I say this with urgency. It is time to move. Speak when you're afraid, obey when it costs. Stand when it's unpopular. You are no longer waiting for the world to give you permission. You have already been authorized by heaven. If this message is resonating with the fire in your bones, do more than just listen. Like this video, share it with another warrior, and make sure you're subscribed. These are not just encouragements, they're lifelines in a world filled with noise. You are now becoming tool of warrior. Pain is no longer a burden, it is becoming a blueprint. Your wilderness has forged wisdom, your tears have softened your vision so you can see deeper, clearer, holier. All of it was preparing you to carry this mantle with fire and focus. You spent years underestimating yourself because you were surrounded by people who couldn't recognize your assignment. They saw you as ordinary because your light unsettled their darkness. But you were never ordinary, you were Dana, disruption walking in human form. The resistance you faced wasn't a sign you were off track, it was confirmation that you were marked to lead. This is your turning point. The time for second viewing is over. You can't afford to entertain voices of fear when heaven has spoken destiny over you. The final assignment has been activated, and the realm of the Spirit is watching your next move. And know you're not unprepared. You have everything you need: the authority, the discernment. The fire, even when you feel weak, the power in you is not yours. It's His. That's the secret of. The chosen ones, they walk boldly, not because they trust themselves, but because they trust. The one who sealed them, you are that chosen one. Your story is not over. In fact, it's just beginning. The chapters ahead are not filled with wandering. They're filled with divine instruction, impact, and victory. And now, with clarity in your eyes and a roar in your spirit, you are stepping into the part of your journey that hell tried to keep you from. Warrior of light, I say this with urgency: is time to move. Speak when you're afraid, obey when it costs. Stand when it's unpopular. You are no longer waiting for the world to give you permission. You have already been authorized by heaven. If this message is resonating with the fire in your bones, do more than just listen. Like this video, share it with another warrior, and make sure you're subscribed. These are not just encouragements, they're lifelines in a world filled with noise. This space is a stream of prophetic clarity, and if this ministry has been a voice in your storm, a light in your confusion, consider sowing into it. Your support is not just financial, it is prophetic agreement. It says, I believe in this message, I'm part of this movement, I'm aligning with the frequency of heaven. Whether it's $1 or 100, it fuels the fire. It helps spread the message to those who still think they're forgotten, to those who are one word away from awakening. This isn't charity, this is kingdom partnership. And when you give into fertile ground, you don't just support, it multiplies back to you. Time, favor, clarity, peace, alignment. You were never meant to stand still, never meant to blend, and never meant to settle for spiritual survival. You were born to shift things, to disrupt darkness, to awaken others by your very existence. So rise, warrior. The battlefield has waited long enough. The trumpet has sounded. The angels are watching. The heavens are ready. And now, so are you. The scrolls are being opened, not by man, not by tradition, not by intellect, but by divine command. The angels have descended, carrying the next chapter of your life's assignment. And in the realm of the Spirit, ancient doors are swinging wide. Hidden instructions that were once sealed are now being whispered into your spirit. You felt it, haven't you? That strange tension between restlessness and readiness. You know you can't go back, but you don't quite see all the way forward. That's the moment when the scroll begins to open, when heaven starts to reveal what has been hidden, not because you are unworthy, but because the timing wasn't right. But now it is. You are not crazy, you're not unstable, you're not too intense. What you've been feeling is a prophetic pull, a sense that something sacred is happening behind the veil. And 31 minutes and 9 seconds. You're right, it is the scroll of your final assignment has been unsealed. What was once locked in mystery is being released in clarity, line by line, instruction by instruction, direction from the throne room of God Himself. This is not just knowledge, it is revelation. Revelation doesn't entertain, it transforms, it realigns your steps, it rearranges your schedule, it recalibrates your vision. And once it's released, you can't unknow it, you can't unsee it, you can't return to ignorance and still have peace. Heaven is speaking your next steps. The whispers are becoming instructions, and the instructions are becoming blueprints for ministry, for movements, for moments that shift bloodlines. You're not receiving information, you're receiving divine intelligence, and your obedience will determine how far this scroll will unfold. Some instructions are strange, uncomfortable, unfamiliar. That's the test. Will you obey when it doesn't make sense? Will you move when others mock? Will you step into the unknown? Because the voice of God said, go, chosen one. The scroll is being opened over your life. Because you are trusted, not perfect, not sinless, but trusted to listen, trusted to obey, trusted to carry something sacred into a corrupted world. You don't need a pulpit, you are the pulpit. You don't need a platform, your obedience is the platform. This season requires a sharper ear, a poor heart, a quicker response time, because the scroll won't be read aloud forever. There's a window of revelation, miss it, and confusion returns, miss it, and delay becomes disobedience. That's why you're feeling pressure. It's not just warfare, it's urgency. The scroll is being read, heaven is watching to see who will respond, and it's not about being the loudest voice, it's about being the most yielded. You don't need to strive for exposure. When you follow the scroll, doors open that no man can shut. The scroll will take you where your skills never could. It will place you in rooms that degrees and connections couldn't reach. It will unlock hearts that have been sealed by pain and deception. You were born for this too. Be a carrier of scrolls to hear what others ignore, to see what others deny, to move and sync with a realm that cannot be touched, but always speaks. The enemy fears scrolls because they are specific, they are powerful, they are disruptive. One, obedient, chosen one with him. Open scroll can dismantle decades of demonic structures. That's why the enemy has tried to distract you, discourage you, delay you. Because if you ever started reading and obeying the scroll, his plans unravel, and now you are reading every strange, stirring every random vision, every prophetic dream. It's all pieces of the scroll heaven is scripting your assignment with more clarity than ever before, and your only job is to read and respond, to carry out what's written with faith, fire, and fierce obedience. You're not waiting on God anymore. God is waiting on you, waiting for you to trust the scroll more than your senses, to lean not on your own understanding, to walk by revelation, not just logic, because the scroll will not explain everything, but it will guide you into everything. There are people tied to your yes, nations tied to your alignment, legacies shaped by your submission, and as you obey, more will be revealed. Revelation is progressive, it increases as you walk, and it stays still, and it stops move, and it multiplies. This is your charge, chosen one. Protect the scroll, value it above popularity, above comfort, above fear. Let no voice become louder than God's. Let no opinion outweigh the instruction. You're not called to be understood, you're called to be obedient. And now to activate this word with a prophetic sign comment. The number 777 below 7 is the number of completion. 7 signifies divine fulfillment. When you type 777, you're not just engaging, you're agreeing, you're declaring, I am reading, I am receiving, I will obey. Heaven is not looking for the qualified, it is seeking the willing, the yielded, the broken vessels who say, here I am, Lord. Speak, send me. The scroll is open, your eyes are clear, and your next move matters more. Then you know you carry the atmosphere. It's not something you turn on and off. It's not something you perform or pretend. It's who you are when you walk into a room. Spiritual climates shift, not because of your words, but because of your presence. What resides in you commands alignment. You carry something holy, and the unseen realm knows it before you speak. That's why people feel different around you. Some are drawn, some are repelled, some get uncomfortable. It's not personal, it's spiritual. Their spirits react to the atmosphere you bring. You didn't ask for it, you didn't earn it, you were chosen for it. What surrounds your life is not ordinary energy, it is divine presence, inherited authority. Have you ever noticed how some environments feel heavier after you enter? How tension builds even when you're silent? It's not you, it's what you carry. Heaven's light in you exposes what's been hiding in others. It presses on spirits that were once dormant. It calls things out of hiding, because you're not just a person, you're a catalyst, and catalysts don't blend and they change everything. This is why you don't feel peace in certain places. Your spirit is discerning atmospheres that your mind hasn't fully processed. You've walked into buildings that looked beautiful, yet something fell off. That's your spiritual radar activating to process. Santanis, you weren't being paranoid, you were being protective. Your anointing doesn't allow you to be casual in contaminated spaces. Chosen one, you are an atmosphere carrier. You don't need to announce yourself. The spirit realm already recognizes you. That's why you face resistance before you speak. That's why attacks often come before you even make a move, because your mere presence is disruptive. Not because of arrogance, because of assignment. You bring the kingdom with you. You walk with heaven's backup, and the weight you carry is not emotional, it's eternal. Angels accompany you, divine alignment walks beside you. That's why others around you suddenly Shift their tone, their behavior, their posture. Your spirit introduces order without a word. This is also why relationships are hard now. Not everyone is called to walk beside someone who shifts. Atmospheres, some want your light without the cost, some want your presence but can't handle your purpose, and others, those assigned by God, will recognize you without explanation because their spirits are tuned to the same frequency. Do not downplay your gift. Do not shrink to accommodate others. The atmosphere you carry is heaven's weapon. Against spiritual apathy, you break cycles, you interrupt patterns, you carry healing conviction. Clarity, restoration, all without needing to be seen or celebrated. That's power, and you've seen. Yet you've walked into chaos, and peace followed. You've touched someone's hand, and healing came. You've spoken one word, and people cried, not because you were eloquent, but because heaven spoke through you. You are not average, you are not ordinary, you are a temple of the living God, and that truth radiates from you, whether you notice it or not. You don't just enter places, you invade them. Light doesn't ask darkness for permission to shine, it just does. And that's what you've been doing all along, even when you were uncertain. Even when you felt lost, you were still shifting things. Your very life became a rebuke to stagnation and compromise. This is why the enemy fights you so relentlessly. He doesn't fear your potential, he fears your presence. He knows what happens when you believe fully in who you are, when you stop trying to prove your worth and simply walk in your identity, when you trust that the God in you is greater than every room you enter. The truth is, the more aware you become of what you carry, the more effective your steps become. You no longer waste energy convincing people, you no longer strive to be understood. You walk in knowing, and knowing is power. You walk into situations, and instead of adjusting to them, they adjust to you. This awareness also brings responsibility. You can no longer compromise in environments you're assigned to shift. You can't flirt with confusion while claiming to carry clarity. You can't engage in what you're called to cast out. You're a walking shift, and that shift begins with your consistency. So embrace the weight, embrace the authority, embrace the isolation that often comes with it. God trusts you to carry this, not because you're flawless, but because you're faithful. Because even when you didn't understand why you were different, you never let go of the fire within you. That fire was your training ground, and now every step you take is strategic. Every moment you show up is a movement. Every room you enter is a mission. This is who you are, a carrier of atmospheres, a changer of climates, a living, breathing sign that heaven is near. Let that truth settle. Let it reframe how you move. Let it recalibrate how you speak, because from this day forward, you're not just walking into places, you're releasing purpose with every breath. This is why you survive, not because you're the strongest, not because you had all the answers, not even because you always knew what to do. You survive because heaven intervened, because the breath of God refused to leave your lungs, because your purpose refused to die, because your final assignment had not yet been fulfilled. Every storm you faced had an undercurrent of divine protection. You didn't just make it through, you were carried, shielded, preserved, even when you didn't know how to pray, even when your faith wavered, even when you questioned your worth. Something greater than you refused to let go. You've been through things that should have destroyed you, betrayals that should have broken your trust, permanently losses that should have left you bitter, confusion that should have clouded your mind until you gave up, but still you rose, not by your own strength, but by grace, relentless grace, grace that outran every lie, grace that covered every scar, grace that pulled you back from the edge. You've walked through fire, and it didn't burn, not because you didn't feel the heat, but because the flames couldn't claim you. They refined you, not consumed you, and now that same fire has become your testimony, not of survival alone, but of transformation. You don't just bear scars, you bear glory. You didn't survive by accident, you survived on purpose, because your life is not your own, your breath is borrowed, your time is assigned, and your survival was the signal that your assignment is still active. There were moments you thought it was over, moments where darkness felt permanent, moments where silence screamed louder than your prayers, but what you didn't See, was heaven working behind the scenes, angles, standing guard, the spirit groaning on your behalf, doors being held shut, not to punish you, but to protect you from what you couldn't yet discern. Even in the moments you collapsed, God caught you. Even in the seasons you wandered, he tracked you, because you were never lost, you were being led, even through the wilderness. And now you can look back and realize it wasn't the end, it was the making of a warrior. Your endurance was not just about you, it was about legacy, bloodline, others who will be set free, because you refuse to quit. You are the interruption, the one who said, "This ends with me." That decision shook realms, and heaven responded by reinforcing your survival with strength. The same grace that kept you is the grace that's now commissioning you. You didn't come this far just to testify, you came this far to activate, to move, to speak, to carry what others dropped, to finish what others ran from. You are not a victim of life, you are a vessel of life. You've been trusted with something that can't be stolen, only surrendered, and you've made it through too much to surrender. Now every sleepless night, every silent breakdown, every moment you chose to hope anyway, those were not wasted. They were offerings, seeds sown in pain, now preparing to bloom in power. This is your reason, this is your why. You survive because your voice is needed. Your presence matters. Your hands will build what others only dreamed of. Your obedience will tear down what others were too afraid to confront. You are not here by chance, you are not breathing by luck. You are breathing because breath still has a purpose in your lungs, because destiny is still unfolding through your veins. Don't forget how far you've come. Don't minimize what it took just to be standing. Others wouldn't have made it, money didn't, but you did, because heaven saw something in you that hell couldn't destroy, because God authored your days, and not one of them was written in vain. So walk forward, not with guilt, but with gratitude, not with fear, but with fire, because you didn't just survive to tell a story, you survived to fulfill one. The final assignment is calling, and you bloody, bruised, but unbroken are the answer. This is why you're still here. You are the last line, the final defense, the one chosen to stand when all others have fallen back. This is not dramatization, it is divine revelation. The assignment resting on your shoulders is not optional, it is urgent, it is sacred, and it is personal. You are the one entrusted with something that must not be dropped, delayed, or diluted. The cost is too high, the timing is too critical, the mission is too holy. Look around, the world is shifting, foundations are crumbling, compromises are celebrated, truth is under siege. But in the midst of this spiritual turbulence, God has reserved a remnant, and within that remnant a rare breed, those marked not just to survive, but to stand. You are that one, you are the last line. You probably wondered why the weight feels heavier on you, why the warfare seems relentless, why even your rest seasons don't feel restful. It's because what you carry cannot afford to be contaminated. You are not just holding a promise, you are holding a prophetic legacy. You are guarding something eternal. Others may come and go, others may walk away from their calling, but you chosen one cannot. You carry something too rare, too potent, too pure. If you were to drop it, generations would feel the tremor. If you were to walk away, destinies would derail. You are that crucial, you are that important, you are that chosen. And yet heaven isn't panicked, heaven isn't anxious about whether you'll rise, because the same God who assigned you has also armored you. You are not standing by willpower alone, you are sustained by supernatural strategy. Angels surround you, intercession shields you, grace equips. You are not empty-handed, you are divinely armed. But understand this, when you're the last line, you can't afford to live like the crowd. You can't afford divided focus. You can't dabble in compromise and still expect clarity. The weight on you demands precision, purity, obedience. You're not called to be relatable, you're called to be reliable. And yes, the pressure is immense. Yes, the loneliness is real, but so is the oil, so is the favor, so is the backing of heaven. Every time you stayed faithful when it would have been easier to quit, you gained ground. Every time you worshiped in pain, you took territory. Every time you said yes in private, heaven released something in public. Chosen one, the mantle you carry is not just about your Life, it's about others who will never meet you, but will walk in freedom because of your obedience. It's about bloodlines that have known nothing but brokenness until you stood it. About a future that is being rewritten because you chose alignment over applause. This is not the time to second guess it yourself, not the time to consult culture. This is the time to anchor deeper, listen sharper, move quicker. When you're the last line, hesitation equals vulnerability, indecision equals open doors for the enemy. You must trust what God placed in you, even when you don't understand it, even when it scares you, and when discouragement tries to whisper that you're not enough. Remember, this God knew everything about you before He entrusted this assignment to you. He factored in your fears, your flaws, your past, and still said, I choose you. That's not a mistake, that's majesty. So let the weight rest on your shoulders. Let the mantle settle on your back. You were made for it, built for it, trained for it. You are not the backup. You are the blueprint, not the substitute. You are the solution, not the understudy. You are the answer. You are the one who says, not on my watch. The one who says the compromise stops here. The one who says, I will not be silent when truth is at stake. That boldness is not rebellion, it's revelation. Heaven revealed your purpose so clearly that silence would be disobedience. And understand this, even if you feel weak, even if you feel overwhelmed, your yes still carries fire, because your obedience is not based on perfection. It's based on surrender, and surrendered vessels are the most powerful kind. They leak glory. They shift atmospheres. They walk into warfare with quiet confidence and leave with loud victory. You don't need to shout to make demons flee. You just need to stand. You don't need to impress people to change lives. You just need to carry what God gave you fully, faithfully, fiercely. Let this be your resolve. I will not drop what I've been given. I will not abandon what I've been trusted with. I will not be distracted by what's popular when I've been given something prophetic. I in the last line, and I accept the weight. And if this word has pierced your spirit, if something in you knows this was written with your name in a comment, I hear you, Lord, right now. Let heaven and earth record your agreement. Let the angels move on your response. Let the scrolls of your assignment continue to unroll, because your heart has said yes again. You were chosen for this exact moment. You are the last line, and you will not fall. The mantle is upon you now, not tomorrow, not someday. Now it has descended from heaven's throne and wrapped itself around your shoulders. You may not feel different. You may not see any visible sign, but in the spirit a coronation has taken place. You've been robed in authority, marked with divine assignment, covered with power that isn't your own. You've walked through the fire. You've endured the crushing. You've passed the tests of silence, of waiting, of watching others rise while you remained hidden. And now the wait is over. What was once postponed is now positioned. The mantle has found its rightful carrier, and it is you. This isn't a mantle of comfort. It's a mantle of commissioning. It doesn't come to elevate you in man's eyes. It comes to anchor you in God's. Well, it carries weight. It carries fire. It carries responsibility. This is not the moment to be timid. This is the moment to walk boldly, knowing heaven has spoken your name with fire on its tongue. The shift is not external. It is internal. Something in you has settled. Something in you has awakened. You are not who you were a year ago, a month ago, even yesterday. You've crossed a threshold, and once crossed, there is no return. There is no turning back. The mantle does not lift. It only increases. You may still feel fear. You may still feel unqualified, but those feelings do not cancel the calling. In fact, they confirm it, because true mantles are never placed on the arrogant. They are placed on the available, on those who say, God, if you can use anything, use me. And heaven has responded, I choose you. The weight you now feel is holy. The urgency you sense is heaven's reminder that this is not about status. It's about souls. It's about strongholds, breaking families, being restored regions, being reclaimed. The mantle on your life is not casual. It is strategic.